On the afternoon of the end of the college entrance examination, Guanqi encountered a car accident on his way home and died on the spot. But then he had a bad luck and made a deal with the system, being selected as the first player of the Infinite Great route. As long as the he ending is achieved in all dungeons, you will receive the final reward. 1 personal resurrection coin. So in order to resurrect, the door to saving the world was opened, and nightmares and darkness followed one after another. People from other worlds used one incredible force after another, and their values were shattered one by one. From then on, Guanqi had to embark on a journey of collecting hardcore dungeons called he. On the self-cultivation of a high school senior graduation. Laugh to death, there is no cultivation at all. Hashtag feeling like my body is hollowed out hashtag tired, destroy it hashtag you have no knowledge of the power of high school seniors hashtag keywords of the novel. One Piece King. Starting from the Footpedal Dragon Man to read files without pop-ups, One Piece King. Starting from the Footpedal Dragon Man to read files. Download the complete set of TXT. One Piece King. Starting from the Footpedal Dragon Man to read the latest chapters of the files. Chapter 1. Game Start. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Game Start ** Guanqi is dead, literally. When confirming this fact again and again, Guanqi was standing on the side of the road in a state of soul, watching his body in an extremely twisted position, being slammed against the cement wall by a huge tin truck. 7 orifices bleeding, twisted limbs. Blood dripped all over the ground, and the scene was like a filming scene of some kind of death comes * annotation, or the kind of death that couldn't be fully exposed. Death Comes. A very classic horror movie, in which the method of death is mostly accidental events. Damn it, it's also amazing. Guanqi let out a sigh of annoyance, feeling momentarily overwhelmed by his irreparable appearance. While comforting himself that he had fallen into a bad luck, he was also unwilling to accept the fate of his premature death. After all, she is only 18 years old this year, just finished the college entrance examination, and is in the prime of her youth. Not only do you have plenty of time to squander, but you can also spend this free summer vacation with other friends, play, enjoy, and create, and look forward to how colorful college life will be. But no matter what, we shouldn't be like this now. The college entrance examination has just ended and we're not lying flat yet, so we just have to take care of ourselves. How outrageous, isn't it? Guanqi squatted dejectedly next to her body, even though she was very clear that the only thing she could do now was to accept her fate. Guanqi every time she thought of her days and nights of hard work in the college entrance examination, she felt even more melancholic. Good afternoon, Guanqi's strange sound suddenly rang out in my mind, and in that moment, the surrounding space changed. The wind stopped, and even the countless noisy sounds seemed to have been abruptly stopped like someone holding down the pause button. Guanqi. Guanqi. Lying on the trough, where are the demons? At first hearing the sound ringing in his mind, Guanqi was bewildered and instinctively wanted to look around to see how to run, but suddenly froze in place due to some sudden changes. Something is staring at her. Guanqi felt the eerie atmosphere. Although she did not see the source of her gaze, the feeling of being watched was like a densely woven web, enveloping her from all angles and angles at 365 degrees. I am a consciousness of the world. Guanqi. The consciousness of the world. What is it? Is there still consciousness in the world? Guanqi has been a science democrat for many years, and at first hearing such overly mystical statements, he may feel a bit confused. However, fortunately, those who can withstand the college entrance examination must have good resilience. Therefore, after a few seconds of silence, he can still grit his head and joke quite easily, saying, "It's so abstract. You know, based on common sense, I thought the person who came to pick me up would be black and white impermanence. In fact, it should have been like this, but unfortunately the plan cannot keep up with the changes, said World Consciousness. Because there is something wrong with a parallel universe in my world, I need a tool person to work for me, such as you. Guanqi. Tool man, good guy. Although you are a world consciousness, that doesn't sound like human language. Although. Actually, I think you can find someone else. Guanqi instinctively wanted to refuse. After all, such things as using world consciousness as a tool don't sound like a good thing to her as an ordinary person. You know, there are over 7 billion crooked-necked trees in the world, and I am just one of them, to be honest. Guanqi shrugged, I don't think I can do this. You make a lot of sense, but since you have already taken the college entrance examination, I don't think you have to work so hard. The response from world consciousness can almost be said to be quick. Don't underestimate yourself, Guanqi. In fact, I think you are excellent. By the way, before the grades came down, I always felt the same way, Guanqi sighed. But the fact is, it's an illusion. Well, the world consciousness pondered, there's no need for such human reality. Hee. Guan scratched his head and chuckled foolishly, being down to earth is true. I know your concerns, student Guanqi. World consciousness sighed, what if I say, I can resurrect you? Hush. Resurrect. Guanqi covers his chest, what a great temptation. Guanqi's intention to continue refusing suddenly came to a halt, but considering his ordinary identity, he made a rational analysis. But I am just a student, my mind is stable at around 500 points, and my body can't hold on to anything more than 800 meters. Oh, around 500 points. Compared to most students, it sounds quite ordinary, but I think it's okay because I know your thinking is very flexible, so that's enough. World consciousness disagrees with this. As for the body, it's even simpler because I can create new things for you, and even cheat on you. In a familiar way of saying, like playing games, you can upgrade and even acquire skills. Guanqi. Gone, to put it simply, isn't this VR simulation? Wow, saving the world has become so fashionable these days. Dragon Quest for heroes from another world. But she's not a neon high school student either, so is this setting a bit off stage? Guanqi took a deep breath and felt that the development of the matter gradually became more exciting. Can it be resurrected indefinitely? No, death is real, the world consciousness said without any pause, but you can read files countless times until you succeed. Sleeping trough, this sounds amazing. Guanqi was deeply moved and said, what do I need to do? Well, according to your description, saving the world. The adventure style of RPG role-playing. No, it's an open game for independent exploration. It's just that I need you to save people, save those who deserve to be saved, and change some of my past regrets. I like happy family endings. World Consciousness said, type the he asterisk comment, even if you pass. He ending. So it seems that I should be doing good deeds. Guanqi asked, is the reward a resurrection coin? World Consciousness says, yes, the reward is resurrection coins. Okay, that's a deal. I've done this job. Guanqi exclaimed excitedly, let's have a pleasant cooperation. Okay, pleasant cooperation, Guanqi, World Consciousness chuckled gently. Don't worry, I will look at you. Asterisk it's not illness, it's not hallucinations, it's not a prank by a demon fruit-capable person, and of course, it's not a global epidemic that spread simultaneously. 18 years ago, for unknown reasons or materials, a semi-transparent black screen appeared in everyone's field of vision in a state that was only visible and not touchable, without warning. It cannot be destroyed or eliminated, even though something suddenly appears. It seems like a natural phenomenon that has always been present, accompanying everyone around. Whether it is poverty or wealth, whether it is mindfulness or blindness, whether it is day or night, age is not a problem, gender is not a problem, and even race is not a problem. In short, black screens exist equally within people's field of vision. It won't cause any casualties, nor will there be any benefits to be gained, just staying quietly there seems to have no meaning. But whether it's the Navy, pirates, revolutionary forces, or world governments, everyone has no way to deal with the existence of this screen. At first, people felt panic, anxiety, and unease about this eerie situation. But as time passed, I gradually became accustomed to the presence of the screen, and even accepted it as a part of my body. In short, the common people continued to live as usual, while the nobles continued to seek pleasure. Those who are pirates, those who are navies are navies. The relationship between the Revolutionary Army and the world government is still open and dark, while the slaves continue to struggle in the dark cage without seeing the light. It seems like nothing has changed. But it wasn't until an ordinary morning after its screen had been in existence for 18 years that the originally pitch-black screen suddenly flickered with white snowflakes after a beep. Huh. What happened suddenly? Look, this thing is lighting up. Ah, why did it suddenly light up? Curious, it was always black before. People are puzzled, confused, and curious. They couldn't help but stop what was in their hands and looked at the screen that had been within their field of vision for 18 years. While feeling confused, they were also curious whether this new change would bring any different changes. Different changes. Perhaps. In short, the black and white electronic snowflake flickered for 10 seconds, as if it had finally docked with a radar signal, flashing a colorful image. At the beginning of the scene, it portrays the endless sea in the darkness. The bright moonlight shone on the sea, shimmering with tiny ripples. Then, a dreamy whale emerged with the stars, and huge waves surged and fell. The ethereal harp plays, and the stars glide through the dark curtain of the night, swiftly cruising through this mysterious sea from a bird's eye perspective, subtly showcasing the magnificent tip of the icebergs in the world. Ding dong, hello everyone and welcome to watch Infinite Root Battle, sponsored by World Consciousness. The voice of gender and age is ethereal and illusory, but it rings clearly in everyone's ears. People were startled, but the sound continued, and the camera on the screen kept changing with his narration. Government, Navy, nobility, pirates, Revolutionary Army, pirates. It's pirates. Pirates are here. Everyone. Run quickly. Ah. Please. At least spare my wife and children. Fear begs for mercy. Waha, who cares about you? Little ones. Kill everyone. Leave no one behind. Waha. In this world, pirates are rampant and the government is corrupt. Bang. Bang. The trigger was pulled, accompanied by a gunshot, and then the man fell, with bright red blood surging out of his gradually cold body, soaking the ground beneath him. Ah! Next came the woman's scream, but as the flashing white knife turned blood red, the crying voice suddenly came to an end. The nobles control the lifeline of the country, solidifying the class divide, but we have really done our best. Just give me some more time, just give me some more time. Please, we can definitely gather all the gold from the sky. The contradictions between the Revolutionary Army, pirates, Navy, and the three sides continue, and the darkness of struggle spreads throughout the world. Damn the Revolutionary Army. The Navy is justice. Look at these war-torn countries. Look at these dead people. That's just a necessary sacrifice. Navy. Look at this world. How could you say such things? With the arrival of the age of pirates, unlimited wars and oppression have further exacerbated the suffering and disasters of the people, especially the Shambodi Islands, which are known as the Dream Island by the world, have been living in dire straits due to the presence of nobles in the dungeon. Scarlet blood painted the cold stone walls, and painful screams and wild laughter played a movement called cruel. Death follows like a shadow, with flickering flames illuminating endless pain and despair. Hope never spreads here. As the saying goes, the wine and meat in Jumen smell bad, and there are frozen bones on the road, writes. Money. Status. As long as you have money, you can buy anything. I'm from Tianlong. You lowly people should kneel down for me. Who allowed you to laugh? Ah. With them. You can make the Navy kneel down. Commander-in-Chief of the Navy will dominate your side. With them. You can burn, kill, loot, and do all sorts of evil holding the strongest anti-death gold medal in the world, gnawing on the blood and flesh of the people, and making waves openly. The sky is blue, with dreamy bubbles filling the sky. The sunlight reflects a brilliant rainbow, but when it falls on the ground, it illuminates the broken limbs and arms. People knelt humbly on both sides of the road, their bent backs burying fearful faces deeply in the shadows. And the proud Tianlong wore a smile on his face, with a haughty appearance, stepping on people's dignity and soaring away. Ha ha ha. We are gods. So, now. Game live streaming officially begins. Infinite route battle, game start. Silence. A long silence. But there is only silence. When the darkness and cruelty of the world are so openly revealed to the world, even the tip of the iceberg, which is only a few seconds long, is enough to shake and tremble. The air was filled with eerie silence, but at this moment, everyone knew that the world was going to be chaotic. Wait for them, when those people realize that these darkness are actually the truth hidden in this world and not known to the majority of people, ghosts know what kind of scenery this world will become. Peace, or war. Ha, only a catastrophe remains. Asterisk small theater. World consciousness. I will look at you. Then he turned around and started the live broadcast. Guanqi. What the hell is this, his mother world? Class public execution. Seeking comments, collecting, and recommending. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. White Town. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 White Town asterisk, main task. Save the people of Frevens and achieve he ending, progress. 0%, side task. Find a method to treat platinum lead disease, progress. 0%, the darkness faded like a tide, and when he opened his eyes again, Guanqi found himself lying on the hospital bed. The black task page quietly and stubbornly hovers in a corner of the line of sight, silently indicating one's existence. Platinum lead disease. Although I don't know exactly what it is, following the principle of thinking the worst of everything first, shouldn't the setting of this thing be something similar to the apocalyptic zombies, a highly infectious and rapidly spreading biochemical influenza virus, my mother? Guanqi, who is experiencing the COVID-19, not only has no sequelae, but also is aggravated by his second illness, was frightened by his brain supply. Taking a deep breath, Guanqi jumped up from the bed with a carp and instinctively scanned the room with the idea that there might be zombies breaking through the door in the next second, so the most important thing now is to collect supplies, as the main premise. Firearms, axes, knives, or anything else that can be used for self-defense. In order to avoid the possibility of an opening kill, Guanqi quickly and carefully searched the room for any possible hiding places with offensive weapons. However, unlike the scene that Guanqi had anticipated, similar to the one in Resident Evil, where there must be a weapon gift package at the beginning, the room she was in was actually a simple restroom. Resident Evil. A horror thriller game with a zombie theme, with a very high tech level inside. Without the expected biochemical crisis background as a premise, the unique technological coldness that should exist is actually relatively backward compared to modern technology. A hospital bed, a desk, a stool, and a window. There is a vase on the desk, with nothing inside except a bright lily. A very simple appearance, at first glance, it is more like a township clinic than a fully equipped hospital. So. Not Resident Evil. Guanqi was somewhat surprised by this, but considering the need for caution in life, after thinking for 2 seconds, he jumped out of bed and walked to his desk, intending to see if he could find anything useful or background information in the drawer. Click. The sound of opening the door came from behind. Li Guanqi, who was still immersed in the script and feeling mentally tense, was stunned and instinctively stopped moving. He held his breath and turned his head to look at the door. It's a boy. Not very old, looking probably only 5 or 6 years old, with a thick spotted hat on his head and a hint of concern on his immature face. Sister, have you already woken up? Great, it's just lunchtime now. The little boy raised the light and nutritious meal on his hand and said, I'll put it on the table. Sister, come and eat it while it's hot. Ah. Okay, thank you. Li Guanqi blinked his eyes and casually withdrew his hand from the drawer. Could you please, little one? No, it's not troublesome at all. The little boy shook his head and said seriously, Sister, you're a patient now, but you need to rest more. It's okay, I took a nap, I feel much better now. Li Guanqi sat at the table and took the nutritious meal handed to her by the boy. Perhaps to understand the patient's appetite, the amount is not very large, and a bowl of vegetable soup and 2 pies are the entire content. It was a very simple style, but it smelled very fragrant. Li Guanqi couldn't help but taste the pie, then took a sip of soup, chewed it twice, and was instantly amazed. Delicious. Li Guanqi worked diligently, pulling on the bowl while still looking at the pot. Can you fill the rice? It's possible, but there are still many in the cafeteria. The boy brought a stool and sat down at the table. However, sister, just call me Luo. If you're a child, it doesn't feel strange. Okay, but is Luo just calling this one character? Li Guanqi swallowed the food in his mouth and looked up curiously at Luo. No surname. Luo said, Yes, my full name is Trafalgar. Oh, such a long name, it sounds so handsome. Li Guanqi said, My name is Li Guanqi, and I come from the flower planting country. Planting flower country. Luo Lu showed a puzzled expression. It's a place I've never heard of before, is it in Beihai? I don't remember, Li Guanqi said vaguely, but it's definitely not in Beihai. But as for where exactly it is, it's hard to say. After all, traveling through the present, she can't just say she comes from a different world when meeting people. If this ideology were futile, wouldn't she be set on fire as a heretic at the beginning? Hiss. The waves are unbearable, they can't be waves. Thinking of this, Li Guanqi rubbed his nose and began to play abacus in his heart. Don't remember. Luo is skeptical about Li Guanqi's statement. But how could someone not even remember where their country is, in which sea area and where? That's me. But that's not important, Luo. Li Guanqi lowered his head and continued to stir fry, nibbling on the pie and blurring. After all, heroes don't ask for a way out. What matters is never where I come from, but where I want to go. I see. Luo nodded, hesitated for a moment, and then asked again. Where is sister going? That's a long story, but let's make it short. Li Guanqi picked up the soup bowl and drank it clean in 2 sips. Then, with a flick of his mouth, he slammed his chopsticks onto the table with a loud pop sound, giving off a striking smashing sensation. With a lively expression in his eyes, he shook his head and said, The new classic of mountains and seas has clouds, and there are beasts. Its fur is snow-white, its ears are long, its nature is earthy, and it likes to eat eagle sauce. When encountering a teddy bear, immediately transform into a reaching out party. Talking incessantly, Chang Zi, silver, girl. And I will thank Dada for sending the film. His laughter is like a copper bell. The motto is, no matter how high your martial arts are, you're afraid of a kitchen knife. No matter how bad the clothes are, I'll knock them down with 1 brick. That sounds really impressive. Luo listened enthusiastically, and then. Well, as for what happens next, then. Li Guanqi rolled his eyes and smiled mischievously. Please listen to the next breakdown. Luo. Sigh. Luo choked up, unable to find an adjective for a moment, but held his breath in his heart, inexplicably feeling a bit uncomfortable. But before the young man could figure out the reasons behind it, he was provoked by Li Guanqi over there to start a new topic, which diverted his attention and he didn't dwell on it. Meanwhile, in places that Li Guanqi was unaware of, some viewers in front of the screen were discussing the content of the video. Frevens. That white town that has already been destroyed. Why play this kind of thing? Is there anything else to say about a country that has already perished? The onlookers who are unaware of the truth express their lack of understanding. Because of ignorance, they are shallow. They complain about boredom, never think deeply, and focus solely on the exciting opening of the video, without any interest in the old melon in front of them. At least, when all the truth is burned down by a blazing fire and disappears into the ruins with the passage of time, no one can see or hear. The city is filled with the blood of the morning swans everywhere. Poor Lu, poor Lu. Poor Lu, poor Lu. Wave after wave of phone worms kept ringing, and in the office of a naval marshal, the warring states, as a marshal, was busy with pressure from above and chaos from below. Rear Admiral Cap was sitting on the sofa, eating donuts and drinking tea happily, just one step away from the pinnacle of nourishment. As the three great generals, Yellow Ape, Green Pheasant, and Sakaski each found their own positions in their rooms and occupied land as their camp. However, except for the most serious and serious Sakaski, who sat upright in a chair with a black face watching the video, the remaining two of them breathed and clipped their nails, arrogantly and perfectly interpreting what it means to go to work and fish without feeling guilty. Warring States period. What a room full of unfairness. Doormat Fry. Vance. Why is it here? Luo leaned against the shadow by the wall, looking at his childhood appearance on the screen in disbelief. Those familiar things, like stones thrown into the pool, stirred up ripples in his reluctant to recall past. On the one hand, it is a happy and fulfilling family of four, with parents and younger sister, all their happiness gathered in that small hospital. On one side, there is a fiery human cemetery filled with corpses, collapsed buildings, and bloody thorns and a strong sense of sadness wherever one goes. Even after many years, looking back on those past memories feels too unfamiliar, but Luo never forgot the pain and despair at that time. And hatred. Frevens. Luo silently recited the name of his hometown city in his heart, and the brim of his hat covered his expression, casting a black shadow that was blurry. If Luo Shang, as a party involved, still has a deep emotional pain, then on this side, as one of the world governments, the attitude towards the content presented in the video is cold and chilling. After all, there are too many crazy facts they have done before. Even if they have a clear understanding of their own virtues, they will never admit it on their lips, and even turn the tables on it. They feel that the people behind this screen have provoked their authority, which is truly despicable. Damn it. However, before they point the blade stained with innocent blood at the person behind this screen, they still need to confirm one thing: go and check who the person named Trafalgar and Li Guanqi in the video are, as well as the flower-growing country and which country they are. And Frevens. Although it has been destroyed, the information from the past has also been found. Now the Tianlong people are getting angry because of the content at the beginning of the video. We need to give those people a vent. Then remember to contact the newspaper and control the content of the news. Focus on what should be written and what should not be written. You don't need me to teach you this, do you? Frevens. That white town. Platinum lead disease. Is it? Another country abandoned due to human error. In the conference room of the Revolutionary Army, a group of people sat around a long table, and on the table was the first thing that was discovered about Frevens. This was called the White Town and was famous for its platinum lead, which led to the downfall of the country. A tragedy constructed entirely by the greed of the royal family and the world government. The dragon god complex put down the intelligence in his hand and remained silent alone, not knowing what he was pondering. Sabo watched the video on the screen and remained silent beside the long table. After all, this is not the first time such a thing has happened in this world under the rule of world governments. Wealth and power drive the nobles of the royal family to engage in countless activities that destroy human nature. Even those who hold on to the truth can avoid tragedy, but for their own benefit, they bribe scholars and journalists to fabricate false information, prevent the spread of the truth, and only maintain the worthless honor of the world government. And the truth. After the complete downfall of the country called Frevens, who would care about the so-called insignificant truth. Asterisk small theater, Guanqi. Amazing. My, that rabbit. That rabbit. Full name, That Year That Rabbit Incident, a very interesting domestic anime, seeking comments, collecting, and recommending. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Written Test Answers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Written Test Answers * after lunch, following the tradition passed down by his ancestors that, 100 steps after a meal, 100 years of longevity, Guanqi said hello to Luo and left the hospital. He slowly walked to the commercial street not far from the hospital to take a stroll and listen to gossip. Learning from the ideological and spiritual values of the masses in Chaoyang district who love life, one can gather around individuals and chat about what they have or haven't, like a gourd in a melon field, enjoying the fruits while experiencing the local customs and traditions of the country. While chatting with local residents about the mountains, I also learned some basic information about the country of Frevens from it. To be honest, 100 years ago, people discovered a mineral called platinum lead in the geological strata of this beautiful, dreamy, and fairy tale-like country of Frefan, and learned that this special lead was the source of Frefan's dreamy scenery. So in order to better develop the economy and make small money, we provide a one-stop service of mining, processing, and selling this mineral. It was made into tableware, paint, sweeteners, cosmetics, weapons, and other items for exclusive brand sales. And as expected, these lead products became popular among countries due to their unique and dreamy colors, and were wildly sought after by all buyers. Over the past 100 years from its issuance to the present day, it can be almost said that it has been sold out and never held back. And as its birthplace, Frevens has also become an exclusive spokesperson for platinum lead products, earning a lot of money. The intelligence has been collected here, and that's about it. On the way back to the hospital, Guanqi looked at the world, whether it was the house or the plants, which was a snow-white fairy tale-like dream. Thinking about the content on the task page, he started reading and understanding with a big head. Guanqi thought a lot and believed that the so-called platinum lead disease in this question stem is likely due to people's excessive exploitation of this mineral and infection, or a radiation-type virus. However, based on the peaceful situation that has existed for over 100 years, two possibilities can be analyzed so far. 1. It is this virus that has a long incubation period, which can make people ill without realizing it. It takes a certain amount of time to develop and spread, in order to kill people invisibly. 2. This virus is actually harmless to the human body, but due to some coincidental external factors, certain conditions are met, which triggers a vicious catalysis, leading to the fatal outcome of disease. Thinking of this, after arriving at the hospital, Guanqi did not return to the ward immediately. Instead, he searched for a corner in the hospital courtyard, thinking while holding a wooden stick to write and draw on the clean white sand. So it seems that the most important thing to do at the moment is to prevent the people of Frevens from being exposed to platinum lead. Otherwise, we should start with foreign trade and investigate if there is anything novel or strange that has been introduced into this country. But they have been in contact with the founding of Frevens for about 70 to 80 years now. If we try to prevent them from coming into contact with platinum and lead, it may not be because they have cut a few crops of yellow cauliflower. And most importantly, saving the people of Frevens is the main task, but rather the seemingly most serious, platinum lead disease, which should be a nationwide infection, is just a side task. Guanqi looked at the content on the task page and thought it over, feeling like he still missed something. I feel that so far, she has only briefly answered the first and second questions regarding this reading comprehension. Right or not, we still need to discuss it. The third highest scoring question is actually empty and cannot be answered. So what other information is she still missing and not paying attention to? Guanqi grabbed his head irritably, with a restless expression on his face. Platinum lead disease. It sounds quite scientific, so the solution to this problem should rely on medical treatment, not mysticism. However, since rescue was also mentioned above, it should not be just a matter of medical level alone. Could it be that there were also some issues with time, such as the vaccine not being developed yet, but the doctor already dead on this side? Guanqi is still interpreting the problem stem, using his spare time to play the game experience of running in groups, with his classmates, crazily brainstorming, while on the other side, the audience, with a divine perspective once again exploded. Those brainless ordinary people are fine, after all, the events back then were too distant, and they were already unaware of it. Therefore, when Guanqi analyzed in the video, he felt that this person with exceptional intelligence might not be a king. While clapping his hands and calling him a cow, he only knew how to shout 6, 6, or 6. But the people of the world government are different. After all, they were the ones who knew the truth of the past, so when facing Guanqi, although it was a mix of truth and falsehood, it was definitely a really big and too fake way of answering questions. In my heart, I just felt like playing ball. That's great now. If this analysis continues, the face of the world government and its self-proclaimed position of justice may not be the same as barbecue. Even if the truth about Frevens does not strike the roots of the world government, so the harm is not significant. A slight manipulation behind the scenes can wash the ground, and even be said to be harmless, but how can this insult be extremely strong? Especially for Wulaoxing, the look in Guanqi's eyes from the video was as if he was staring at a dead person. If my ability is limited and I can't break through the dimensional wall, I really wish I could score a minute and have someone crawl along the network cable to make a decisive decision on the spot for Guanqi, this bold guy, to prevent future troubles. It can be said that he is a serious and wicked person, without any AD count in his heart. He does not even reflect on his own mistakes. However, compared to the world government, the senior management of the Navy is currently more conservative. After the initial chaos passed, the warring states as a marshal also became idle. Although we still gather with the three major generals, Kapu and Crane, and other naval experts, at least we don't need to handle any other messy business. After all, my major doesn't match. Moreover, young people tend to analyze rationally. 1 did not steal, 2 did not have guns, 3 did not engage in revolution, 4 did not engage in piracy, and 5, 6, 7, or 8 did not commit any crimes. Even the purposes currently exposed are only two: one is to find a way to treat platinum lead disease, and the other is to save the people of Frevens, which is still a good thing in terms of universal values. Moreover, this is still a live broadcast, and people all over the world are watching it. If you target it at this time, it's just blatantly going to the position of the villain. Without even a valid reason, let the Navy go arrest people now. The reason that cannot be given is because someone is taking a walk outside, which is obstructing some people's eyes, right? You're quite impressive, this little girl. Cap ate donuts and lazily leaned on the sofa, looking disrespectful. In terms of brain, he's much stronger than those idiots under my command. Ha ha ha. Kapu, you bastard. Don't be so careless anymore at this time. Warring states widened their eyes, trying to kill Kapu's legs on the round table with their eyes. And ha ha ha, it's really noisy. Well, you two have been arguing for so many years and haven't had enough, sighed the Crane as he drank his tea. However, what Cap said is also reasonable. You should know that nowadays there are fools everywhere, and types like little girls who are intelligent generals are still rare. And in terms of interpersonal skills, he also looks very smooth and is a good seedling. The yellow ape blew on his flat nails. If there are no other problems, it would be great if he could dig into the navy. Hey, isn't it? Are you starting to want someone now? Although I don't have any objections, Qingji lifted a corner of her eye mask and slowly let out a sigh. But maybe the world government has already taken notice of her, right? Yellow ape. Yeah, that's why I said if there's no problem. Humph, it's just a bit of a brain. The most important thing is that you haven't noticed any of them yet, you're still young. Red Dog clearly didn't agree with what his two colleagues said, and he snorted coldly as he watched Li Guanqi in the video. I hope you don't have to be another criminal. Li Guanqi briefly recounted his speculation verbally, and as he looked at the task layout, the main task increased from 0% to 5%. TSK, it seems that I only answered the first question correctly. Silently destroying the handwriting written on the sand, Li Guanqi stood up and stretched lazily, deciding to go back home. She returned to her ward without saying a word, looking at the progress of the 5% main task on the task page, thinking about which key points she had missed and not answered. The epidemic and saving the people may sound like one thing, but the results are two tasks. Li Guanqi lay in bed, staring at the ceiling through the task board and pondering. But if it weren't for saving the people from the hands of the epidemic, then who would have to save the people from? Shouldn't it come from the hands of capitalists, not the royal family? Thinking about the feudal system of the Western dynasty that Li Guanqi learned about from other populations in the afternoon, Li Guanqi felt extremely uneasy about his own speculation. No. I don't think so. Li Guanqi shook his head, wanting to refute his earlier speculation and tell himself to look for the good in everything. A nationwide epidemic alone is enough for this country to drink a pot of water, so the development of things should not be so far away. Moreover, when she went out for a walk this afternoon, the people living in this country looked so happy. The faces of ordinary people were filled with longing for life, and they had never met beggars on the street. Although there were also petty thieves, they looked more like outsiders in their clothes and attire, so it's possible that there won't be anything happening to the kings and nobles, right? Li Guanqi. A bad premonition suddenly surged in my heart. After all, it's really hard to say such a thing if I think about it carefully and feel extremely scared. Li Guanqi hoped that his conspiracy theory would cause trouble, thinking too much, but unfortunately, once the seeds of doubt are planted, it is difficult to eliminate them. So, in order to reassure himself, Li Guanqi hesitated for 2 seconds, still feeling the need to confirm his guess, take a moment to see if he can get it right. As mentioned before, part of the reason for the disaster in Frevens is that platinum lead, as a mineral, already contains toxins that can cause death. Thinking about the triggering conditions, Li Guanqi pondered his own words, but considering the national system, there is also a part of the reason that the kings and nobles made wrong decisions in the face of the people's policy of platinum lead disease, which exacerbated the tragedy of the country of Frefan. Next second, 5%. 25% Li Guanqi. Sleeping slot. The matter suddenly unfolded in a nauseating direction. Li Guanqi let out a thud in his heart, feeling a bit confused. After a while, he regained his senses and pondered over it. He continued to speculate based on his habitual thinking of the unity of the world's dog officials. And not only that. Li Guanqi took a deep breath and continued, the kings and nobles actually knew that platinum lead has toxins, but they concealed information about the virus for their own benefit, which fundamentally led to the tragedy of the people. 25%. 45% Li Guanqi. Silence. Silence is Cambridge tonight. The excessively outrageous development made Li Guanqi's mouth open and closed, and he remained silent for half a day. I thought it was a natural disaster, but to my surprise, it turned out to be a man-made disaster. Damn it, it's true that feudal dynasties have seen too much, and all kinds of ghosts, snakes, and gods are Nima. Asterisk small theater, Li Guanqi, possessed by Sun Gu. I have always been willing to speculate about those kings and nobles with the worst malice, but I didn't expect or believe that they would behave so cruelly. The original quote comes from Mr. Lu Sun. I have always been willing to speculate about the Chinese people with the worst malice, but I didn't expect or believe that they would be so cruel. Seeking comments, collecting, and recommending. Your comments are my greatest support. Please leave more comments. Discuss the plot, roast, anything. Please leave more comments. Thank you all, kneel down and thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Research Actions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Research Actions *. When the truth about the destruction of the country by Franz was so blatantly presented to everyone, the major powers in the world could be said to have their own ulterior motives. The Revolutionary Army felt angry about this, but more importantly, they still felt powerless to turn the tide of the past. A great sense of guilt and sorrow weighed on their shoulders, but the darkness ahead made them unwilling to bend down their compromising spine even when they were carrying a heavy load forward. So those guilt and sadness became the best fuel, allowing the flames in these people's hearts to burn silently in the darkness. Even though the flames are so immature now, they still swear in their hearts that they will never fall for the people before victory arrives. So, what about the people? The people are silent. Shocked by this cruel truth, I feel despair at the royal family's determination and indifference, while also worrying about the future. The people of some small and weak countries are even more fearful of this, and their fear of the aristocratic class is deeply imprinted on the faces of poverty. While feeling lucky, I am also afraid that my country will be the next for Fan. At the same time, the royal nobles who were taken away from Frevens by the world government at the time did not think so much. I just felt offended because the truth was revealed, so just for the sake of face, I flew into a rage. After all, these royal nobles were born to sit on high platforms, and their usual style is not to have lower limits, but to have face. So when that layer of fig leaf, which is the truth, is so simply lifted by Li Guanqi, who is nothing in their eyes, it does not make them feel ashamed of their past actions, but rather feels that their dignity has been trampled on by others and trampled upon. Even though they themselves knew his mother that what happened in those years was a wrong thing, they still felt that it should be so. So, not only can they still hold their high airs and not apologize to the victims, but they can also call the Navy and the world government to question why they have so recklessly indulged in the existence of the screen. The response from the Navy and world governments to this is only silence. However, many high-level figures were gathered in the large conference room, while officials with higher status and power were pounding the table in frustration and incompetence. What on earth are you eating? Don't even say who is behind this matter. Can't even find that guy named Li Guanqi. Don't tell me anything about no clues. I don't want to hear those useless arguments. Keep searching for me. Increase your troops. Expand your range. Search door. It's better to catch them by mistake than to let them go. And Yellow Ape, let your technical department study how to turn off that damn screen. The officials roared as if they were about to penetrate the screen. But no one noticed that an invisible thread was slowly tightening between the world government and Navy. On the other hand, as the president of the World Economic Society, Morgan certainly won't miss out on this world-renowned event. So Li Guanqi's actions were immediately embellished and published in the headline of the newspaper, allowing a large number of seagulls to distribute them worldwide. The purpose is unknown, but the only thing that can be confirmed is that due to his actions, an unknown flame is about to take this opportunity to burn like a wildfire on this vast sea. At this point, we need to thank the flower grower for a full 9 years of compulsory education, so that Li Guanqi, as a liberal arts student, can almost read all the bloody things in the world at a young age. However, even so, as Li Guanqi looked at the progress of the 45% on the task page, he still felt that the actions of the royal and noble families in this country were simply absurd and suffocating. Even in the society of feudal dynasties, it was enough to slide the world's grand scale and leave the world's grand spectrum behind. Li Guanqi didn't understand, but she knew that if the nobles of this country were so virtuous, then the next development would not be a problem that she, as a high school graduate, could solve. Due to being born in a country with a history of 5,000 years, Li Guanqi was able to stand on the shoulders of giants and instinctively realized that the root of the country's problems did not arise from platinum lead disease. So where is the problem? It's ignorance, feudalism, oppression, and centralization. Personal politics is a hell on earth. So even without the platinum lead disease, this country will eventually perish due to their feudal and ignorant political system. Thinking of this, Li Guanqi fell silent all over. She didn't know how to react, so she calmly thought for 3 seconds and decisively decided to follow her brain. She cursed at the essence of Chinese culture expressionlessly, "Fuck you, Mobidic, puff." Ha 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 ha, absolutely, I thought this guy was going to say something, but it turned out to be this, ha ha ha. This is Ace, the captain of the second team of the Whitebeard Pirates. Kolalalala, individual centralization is hell on earth. Isn't it? I really dare to say it, this little girl. Whitebeard gulped down the wine that had been mixed with water by the ship doctor into his mouth. After pouring the last drop of wine from the jar into his throat, he wiped his mouth and placed the empty jar on the deck, showing a disdainful expression. He complained, "It's really hard to drink." Hey! Marco! Did your son add water to my wine again? What a waste of my good wine. Kololalala. Since Dad knows why you still have to finish drinking all of it, Marco felt a headache for his father's stubborn appearance and said, really, he doesn't pay any attention to his health. Occasionally, he needs to listen to the ship doctor's words, "Dad, don't always be so stubborn." White-bearded, childish and capricious, pursed his lips and said, Marco helplessly said, "Dad." Baroque Working Society Conference Hall, Clockdale sat on the sofa behind his desk, playing with his cigar while gazing at the screen ahead. Is it a history of 5,000 years? Clockdale grinned with a cold smile in his voice. If that's true, then it's really a wonderful place. Yeah, it sounds really unbelievable. Robin looked up at the screen and calmly responded, "If there's a chance, I really want to go see that country." It's impossible. Although it's regrettable, that guy came here from a different world, isn't it? Clockdale frowned and said, "But the Navy's bunch of bastards got into a big uproar because of this." Oh, a bunch of brainless fools. If they could really find someone so easily, this thing, the screen, wouldn't have done such an arrogant thing as live streaming around the world. Perhaps, who knows about this kind of thing? Robin shrugged nonchalantly, besides, the Navy's style is not always like this. Clockdale sneered, "I'm just a running dog of the world government." Robin. Well. Next, neither of them spoke again. However, Clockdale didn't have the leisure to divert more attention to an unknown screen, because he still had documents to read. Robin, on the other hand, looked at the girl with black hair on the screen and remained silent. She really liked the child's gaze, like the sunshine in the first day, with a vibrant vitality. Although it had a smooth and worldly side, it always showed a polite smile. If only she could succeed. Robin thought so, but he himself believed that the hope of this matter was slim and impossible to succeed. World governments. Robin chewed on these 4 words in his heart, feeling a slight twitch in his heart that had been numb for a long time, becoming even more spacious than before. As the saying goes, if things don't go smoothly, then sleep soundly. Li Guanqi's empty mind couldn't come up with any clever moves or strategies other than national insults for a moment, so after noticing that it was getting late, he decided to rest well first and make plans after waking up. But sleeping is just a matter of brushing time. So considering the viewing experience for the audience, unlike Li Guanqi who is sleeping seriously on the screen, the video outside the screen is edited using a montage technique, quickly skipping this period and arriving directly at the morning of the next day. In short, it means having no dreams all night. The audience outside the screen didn't wait for a few seconds, while Li Guanqi on the screen slept comfortably. When he opened his eyes again, it was already big. Damn it, it wasn't dawn yet. Li Guanqi. Lie down. High school seniors have a damn biological clock that wakes up earlier than chickens. Li Guanqi's hatred towards his instinct, which was dominated by early self-study, is simply irreparable. But even when he woke up, there was nothing he could do. So he went to the bathroom to wash himself, and Li Guanqi set off to the front desk of the hospital to complete the check-out procedures. When Li Guanqi walked out of the hospital gate, he changed his medical uniform and also got some seemingly his own things from the nurse sister. A wallet, a key, a letter, and nothing else. Li Guanqi casually put his wallet and keys into his pocket. After tearing open the envelope, he found that it contained a city map that marked as much as possible all the houses, roads, and terrain within the borders of Furfan. Wow, Li Guanqi exclaimed in admiration and instinctively flipped over the map, only to find a string of addresses written in the blank space on the back of the map, a small house with a red flag at the entrance, 500 meters north of the hospital gate. World consciousness Li Guanqi. It's quite considerate. Without the crisis of wandering on the streets, Li Guanqi put the map in his pocket and without hesitation planned to start conducting market research to see the high and low price levels here. After all, compared to the deadly corruption and tyranny of the royal nobles, the most important thing now is to solve it first. Although it is unknown when it will break out, if it does, it will definitely lead to an uncontrollable, platinum lead disease. The matter is divided into severity and urgency. Especially in situations where the former can be set aside at will, while the latter requires urgent time, Li Guanqi does not have the time to waste that precious time with the royal nobles who are bound to go to the guillotine. Platinum lead disease will definitely come, and it will come soon. So the most scarce thing now is time, and the most deadly thing is also time. On the way to the market, Li Guanqi recalled the measures taken by flower growers in the early stages of the epidemic outbreak, while customizing corresponding plans in his mind. Firstly, it's about supplies. After all, in the early stages of the epidemic outbreak, the most basic and effective response measures were to block neighborhoods and self-isolate. Li Guanqi currently only knows about the occurrence of platinum lead disease, but has no specific knowledge about the specific condition of the disease. However, considering that 80% of this will be a consumption station that she doesn't know how long it will last, she knows very well that the first and most important thing to do is to hoard food and materials. Simply put, it means tactical hoarding of food and drink, selective storage of medical care. Especially for items on the shopping list, they must be precise, efficient, and durable. The most important thing is to resist all flashy tricks and all fancy punches and embroidered legs. With this in mind, Li Guanqi first went to a shop selling paper and pens, bought a notebook that he could keep track of with him, and a few pencils for writing. I used to lose weight, no, in biology class, the teacher said that a person needs about 1,400.1800 calories per day, so if you're hoarding food, the best choice is those high-calorie foods. Main foods: rice, noodles, oil. Vegetables: potatoes, cabbage, sweet potatoes, onions, bean sprouts. Fruits: apples, kiwi fruit. Snacks: candy, chocolate, jam, cookies, pickled vegetables. Hush, meat is also an essential thing, but the storage time of fresh meat is not long. It is best to wait until the market to see if there are any meat-marinated products. Oh, by the way, there are also dry starchy foods like noodles. As for drinking water, it is necessary to store some fresh water and alcoholic beverages. After all, considering some unexpected situations, the role that alcohol can play is very extensive. Li Guanqi quickly listed all the materials she could think of in her notebook, and in no time, she finished writing 2 pages full of paper. After officially entering the market, her situation did not decrease but increase, and it can even be said that it has become increasingly severe. Auntie, what is the name of this vegetable? Is it durable? Is its nutritional value high? What are the requirements for cooking? Ah, uncle, how do you sell these rice noodles? If I want to do wholesale, do you have any discounts? Do you support installment payments or advance reservations? Oh, by the way, boss, could you please tell me again what this thing is? Can it be eaten? What is it for? What are its uses? Li Guanqi seems to have swallowed 100,000 Y, asking whatever he catches. But this cannot be blamed on her, after all, as an outsider who came here from a different world, Li Guanqi can be said to have no knowledge or understanding of everything in this world. Strangeness filled her brain, but time was as tight as death's debt, purely begging for her life. So considering the urgency of time and the maximization of efficiency, Li Guanqi wished one person could break it into 2 pieces. She asked every unfamiliar thing seriously, read every explanatory sign she saw carefully, and even distracted herself from listening and selecting important research topics while chatting with people passing by. With the speed of taking notes and doing homework as a humanities student, Li Guanqi can be said to have 3 minds and 2 uses, quickly formulating and improving his own plans. Classify what needs to be done, focus on what needs to be done, and don't forget to extend and supplement even the finer points. Brushing and brushing seems like a typewriter has become refined, perfectly interpreting what it means. The brain runs ahead, the hands chase behind, one run after another, all of which are difficult to fly. Quickly, more than half of the notebooks were taken down. As noon approached, Li Guanqi put his notebook in his pocket and immediately left the market without stopping. Because just now, while studying unfamiliar things in a daily necessities store, she heard a mother and daughter discussing a celebration to be held in Frevens in 3 months. Oh, celebration, if done properly, you may be able to stock up on a larger wave. Li Guanqi touched his chin and pondered. It seems like we need to come up with a solution. Small theater, Li Guanqi. This, and this. Li Guanqi. I want everything. Seeking comments, collecting, and recommending. Thank you Mina-san for watching and recommending, so let's see you in the next chapter. Mua, end of this chapter. Chapter 5. Entering the casino for the first time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Entering the casino for the first time according to the survey results, platinum lead disease is a virus that spreads and parasitizes in the human body due to excessive mining of a mineral called platinum lead. The virus has a long incubation period, but once it breaks out, the skin and hair will gradually turn white, accompanied by severe pain throughout the body. At this moment, in the quiet conference room of the Revolutionary Army headquarters, Sabo was standing at the end of the long table, solemnly working on the report of the country of Furfan on platinum lead disease, while asking Kurla to help distribute the pre-printed materials. And the most tricky thing is that although this virus does not spread from person to person, people infected with this virus will experience severe pain and high fever during the onset of the disease, shortening their lifespan and continuing to spread to the next generation. At present, there is only one survivor left in the country of Furfan, Trafalgar Row, and according to the latest intelligence, he is the owner of the surgical fruit, so I can reasonably argue that this may be the reason why this person's platinum lead disease has been cured. Sabo was holding chalk and listing information about the virus on the blackboard. Above is the latest intelligence about platinum lead disease. My report ends here. What are everyone's opinions now? Platinum lead disease, someone sighed, that was really a disaster. Has this disease been around for a long time? Long asked calmly, is there a specific treatment plan? No. In fact, after the complete destruction of White Town, no doctor has ever studied a method to treat platinum lead disease again. Saburo lowered the brim of his hat and took a deep breath. After the royal family left, the country of Fravans was completely abandoned by the world government. Is it better to say it's powerless, or should it be said that it's clean without seeing? It really fits the style of those scumbags. That is to say, even though the concealment of platinum lead disease by the royal nobles is the fundamental cause of all tragedies, if there is no cure for platinum lead disease, the people of Frafan will still face the end of their country's downfall. Kurla's face turned pale. She covered her mouth and looked at Guanqi, who was rushing around for supplies in the video. She couldn't help but look away and said, "So doesn't that mean Miss Guanqi's actions are all useless? It's so cruel. This is simply a hopeless rescue." Silence without words, everyone present has a twinkling of pain and unbearable pain in their eyes. Faced with the destined cruel ending, no one spoke, so this long silence became heavy and mournful like a mountain. The revolutionary soldiers present here are unwilling to admit it, but they cannot deny the hopeless future on the screen. Sorrow and failure seemed to be a definite thing. They couldn't bear it, so they tried not to look at Guanqi, who was struggling hard on the screen, but they were also unwilling, so they couldn't take their eyes off Guanqi. Since the Revolutionary Army, they have been fighting against the darkness of the world for the liberation of the people. With the joint efforts of everyone, their strength is constantly strengthening, and like-minded partners are also increasing. Although there are failures and setbacks, they are also decreasing. Even if they encounter the CP organization directly belonging to the world government, they can still be said to not be inferior and can fully retreat. But now, when these long-lost tragedies are once again presented to the public, they realize that they are still too small in front of this vast sea, to the point where they exert all their strength to prevent every tragedy from happening. But really, can't we see hope? After mastering all the necessary information at the moment, Guanqi followed the address provided by World Consciousness at the back of the map and went to the temporary resting place, a two-story building that appears to be exquisite and beautiful on the outside, but inside it is actually a spacious and clean large warehouse without even a single cockroach. Guanqi stood at the door, dumbfounded. Even though she has been on the Expo hot search for more than 10 years, she has never seen such a seductive and stylish way of being stingy. Sleeping trough, it's just an empty house with nothing. Is this still the world consciousness? Grandit's reincarnation is not even here, is it? Guanqi is so irritable that he almost wants to demolish the house every minute. However, due to poverty, she quickly calmed down again. Because she knew that this damn house was her only asset at the moment, no matter how small the mosquito was, it was still flesh. If it were demolished, it would be truly penniless. Guanqi now has a headache and liver ache, but seeing that there are still several hours before dark, she calmed down for a moment and decided not to waste time in this empty warehouse anymore. So after counting the funds on his body, the door closed and the lock fell. He turned around and walked towards the street. Sigh, there's no way after all, if you're poor, you have to make money. Ha ha ha, truly a commoner. What a shame. Ha ha ha. The nobles laughed heartily upon seeing this, as if they had already anticipated Guanqi's tragic future. They even happily opened a few expensive bottles of good wine and sat comfortably on the sofa, waiting for the next content to be played on the screen. I thought it was so amazing, but the result was just a penniless beggar. Ha ha ha. Bad luck, ha ha ha. No power, no money. What a terrible start. Ha ha ha. The nobles outside the screen laughed wildly, while Guanqi inside the screen squatted on the horse's teeth and continued brainstorming for money. It is not yet known whether it was the worst start, but it is definitely the worst initial funding. Fortunately, the methods of making money are all written in the criminal law. Guanqi swore that she was definitely a law-abiding and good citizen, but unfortunately, she crossed the line and ruined all her views. Moreover, this world is not that world, this country is not that country, and this law is not that law. So in the face of this situation, Li Guanqi felt that it was time for him to exercise his moral subjectivity on his own. Although that may not be a good thing to say, from now on, she is no longer Li Guanqi, but Niu Keilu Shizhang San. So, I saw a quick transition in the camera. Li Guanqi, who was still worried about money on the horse's teeth in the previous second, appeared in the largest place in Frevens. Xia gambling field in the next second. Well. Morally speaking, it can be said to be quite flexible. Asterisk everyone in front of the screen. Dot. The eerie silence followed closely by rows of question marks occupying everyone's minds, leaving them stunned and unsure of how to describe their emotions at the moment. No, wait, isn't this guy a good person? That's right, and she has a cute baby face. How could a good baby make money and go to the casino? It's not a pirate. Although it's not that it's not impossible, the contrast is too big. She has a well-behaved baby's face. That's right, she has a well-behaved baby's face. Asterisk Kapu. Puhaha. I like her. This girl is a talent, hahaha. Yeah, actually he's still a white-cut black one. The yellow ape pinched his chin and pondered with great interest. The kids nowadays are really amazing. At the beginning, I thought I would be a decent person, but it turned out to be very clever. Qing Ji narrowed his eyes slightly, also somewhat surprised. The casino is really something unexpected. Asterisk passing through the dim underground passage, one can see the magnificent underground casino. The huge crystal lamp illuminated the vast underground casino with golden splendor. Although it was still afternoon, the casino was bustling with lights and wine, dressed in beautiful clothes and adorned with high social status. The air was vaguely filled with the smell of perfume, and the well-dressed waiters were shuttling among the crowd with drinks and drinks. Li Guanqi said, "Wow. This place is really grand." Li Guanqi carried the 2 gold coins he exchanged at the front desk when he entered, marveling at the luxurious decoration here while wandering in front of various gambling tables with different gameplay, silently observing the gameplay here. Mahjong, Pai Gao, Baccarat, slot machine, blackjack, fish, shrimp, crab, and dice treasures. Li Guanqi looked through all the gameplay of the casino several times and found that none of the popular gambling methods she was familiar with were here. It seems like everything is stuck in that era of the 17th and 18th centuries. So in this casino, compared to the flashy gameplay of modern times, the gambling rules here mostly stay at the stage of some ordinary card games and dice ratio. No matter how much, it's either a coin toss or nothing else. Not bad. At least there aren't many types, which means the rules won't be too difficult. Li Guanqi calculated and had a plan in his mind. After circling back and forth in the casino, he roughly planned and found a relatively deserted card table to sit at. In short, first pick a soft persimmon and try the water. If it doesn't work, then immediately stop and turn around. With this thought in mind, Li Guanqi grinned at the middle-aged man across from the card table who looked disheveled. "Hello, sir, I have 2 gold coins. Do you want to play a game?" Middle-aged man. Li Guanqi. Middle-aged man. Li Guanqi. A brief silence occurred as Li Guanqi thought to himself whether his speaking speed was too fast or his voice was too low, causing the other person to not hear him clearly. Therefore, he planned to repeat it again. The middle-aged man, who was originally motionless like a mountain, moved slightly, adjusted his sitting posture, and then looked up at Li Guanqi. His face, which was originally in a state of decline, showed a hint of madness. Li Guanqi. TSK, the agreed-upon fate depends on each other, how can it all end up being a disaster? Asterisk, wait, that guy. Shocked by the man's appearance during the Warring States period, he suddenly stood up and knocked over the stool behind him. Why did he appear there? Hey, can't you? Even the usually calm Qingji was stunned, his face suddenly darkened. Isn't that the pirate who killed teacher Zifa's family? After the pirates were annihilated, that scumbag actually ran to Frevin's. Cap's expression also became ugly, with anger in his heart and a faint sadness lingering in his heart. The yellow ape remained silent and didn't speak, but his casual attitude had become more restrained due to the content playing on the screen. The crane on the side took out the telephone worm and instructed the people below to go to the intelligence department to search through the incident files of that year, and then send them to the marshal's office as soon as possible. For a moment, the atmosphere inside the room became suppressed, and although the few people were still watching the content on the screen, their minds were immersed in a state that was almost like a trance. Even in the past, they have told themselves countless times that people should look forward, but when faced with such heavy memories of the past, no one can confidently say that they have truly broadened their horizons. Even if the parties involved Zifa really stand in front of them, they cannot be certain whether the other party's decision to resign from their naval position in the shadow of losing their family is right or wrong. Just knowing that those irreparable regrets have now become unrecognizable with the passage of time. Guanqi knew nothing about what the naval executives were discussing outside the screen, but as he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him who was clearly not a good person to criticize, he couldn't help but marvel that he had not read the almanac when he went out today, and that misfortune never came alone. "Oh. New face, it's my first time here," the man jokingly said with ill intentions, and the question sentence was forced into a negative sentence. Guanqi touched his nose and realized that he had taken a wrong look and picked the wrong persimmon. So, with the idea of, if a man walks the world, he must shrink his head, the practitioner apologized for the handsome man and consciously lifted his buttocks, intending to leave the table and pick another persimmon. "Wait a minute, little ghost. Did I let you go?" A hoarse and eerie voice rang out again, and then a money bag and a long knife were rudely thrown onto the playing table by the man. The shiny gold coins rolled out of the unfastened cloth bag, tinkling and spinning on the playing table, while the snow-white blade was even cleaner, reflecting the reflection of the coins like a mirror. "If you want money, you still want life." The man grinned, his eyes full of gloom. While staring at Guanqi intently, he gently placed his hand on the handle of the knife, indicating a threat. Guanqi. It's really unlucky. Guanqi couldn't express his frustration in his heart, but he still felt that it was necessary to struggle again in front of the guillotine. "My whole body is only worth 2 gold coins, sir. If you're just trying to make money, I suggest you choose someone else." "Humph, I don't want you to be rich. I'm just a gambler. And I only bet with those unlucky people who come knocking on their doorstep." The man grinned grimly, "This is you who provoked me first, little devil. Guanqi. You are the unlucky one, your whole family is unlucky." Guanqi, who was deeply saddened by the word unlucky guy, was a bit frustrated, but considering the difference in body shape between the two, he didn't say anything. "Okay, then it's up to you, sir." Guanqi sighed and sat back on the chair, his tone flat, his eyelids half drooping, and a listless expression. "Playing dice, how about comparing sizes?" "No." The man refused, shook his head, lowered his voice, and looked ill-intentioned. "Let's play cards." That's okay, then we'll play cards." Guanqi nodded, as if he couldn't see the man's expression, and agreed happily. "What kind of game is it?" "Man, pick a card." "Sure." Guanqi didn't even lift his head and took out the only 2 gold coins in his pocket and gently placed them on the playing table. He continued, "Who washes whose hair?" "It seems that he's not entirely an outsider," the man said with a slightly surprised expression on his face, pondering for a moment. Then, "I'll wash your hair." "Well, okay, as you said." Guanqi asked a masked male waiter for a new deck of cards and handed it to the man. At the same time, he raised his head and asked again, as if confirming, "Pike cards, right?" "That's right." The man took the card, but he didn't immediately shuffle it. Instead, he said with a grim face, "But you don't have enough chips now, you need to raise. Add more." Li Guanqi paused for a moment, frowning and slightly resisting, "But I only have 2 gold coins. But my coins are not just 2. As if impatient, the man suddenly stood up and fiercely slammed onto the table, revealing a gloomy and violent expression on his face. He roared, "You need to raise. Li Guanqi. Add your mother." Li Guanqi was startled. Although he didn't show any signs on the surface, he felt that the man's inexplicable rudeness was a trap in his mind, probably not a hippie. Silently suppressing the urge to lift the table, Li Guanqi, who felt that such a thing could still be tolerated for the sake of the knife, remained polite and asked kindly, "So, sir, what do you mean by? I mean, you can bet on something else." The fierce expression faded a little, and the man withdrew his hand in satisfaction and sat back in the chair. Fingers, limbs, or eyeballs? The man looked at Li Guanqi with a gloomy expression. "You can definitely bet on yourself, can't you?" Li Guanqi. No, are you okay? Are these things that can be used for gambling as soon as they are served? Small theater, Li Guanqi. You crave my body. You're despicable. Seeking comments, collecting, and recommending. Thank you Mina-san for watching and recommending, so let's see you in the next chapter. Mua, end of this chapter. Chapter 6. Initial file reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Initial file reading * peak card. A card game that can be played by 2, 3, or even 4 people. The gameplay is also very simple, arranged in order of face size, as A, K, Q, J, 10, 9, 8, and 7. Each player deals 12 cards, with 2 or 3 cards each time, leaving 8 cards as base and facing down. If there is no portrait card in hand, report the white card and score 10 points. Then, after each player plays their cards, they make up their cards from their base cards. After the makeup is completed, each player combines their cards in 3 different combinations: points, runs, and long sets. Compare the cards in your hand, score them separately, and each family can only score 1 set. After the bidding is over, each house plays cards, starting from the non-dealer. After each house plays cards, if they have cards of the same suit, they should follow the same suit. The winner is the one who plays the largest card in the same suit. By the way, this gameplay has no trumps. All of the above are from Baidu *. Although there is a saying that walking by the river often means getting your shoes wet, it is rare for someone like Li Guanqi to constantly toss and roll in the sewer from the beginning. The man sat firmly in front of the supposed equal card table, relying on the relationship of having a knife in his hand, forcing the unlucky Li Guanqi to make a seemingly equal, but actually very unequal, hegemonic treaty. 2 arms, 2 legs, and a pair of eyes. The man's eyes were full of ruthlessness and cunning that he was determined to win. If you win, then these gold coins belong to you, but if you lose, you will give your life to me. Sure, sir. Li Guanqi looked at him firmly for a while before asking, "What if you lose all your coins?" Ha! How could I possibly lose all of my gold coins? The man was so confident in his gambling skills that he seemed to have heard a joke. Who do you think I am? It's just a piece of cake, you're worried about yourself, kid. I can't wait to cut off your limbs and dig out your eyeballs. Sigh, sir, you're really amazing, Li Guanqi said in an unstoppable tone, and then, so what? So what? The man was annoyed by Li Guanqi's tone and felt that the little ghost was somewhat unkind. As he became more and more impatient, he choked and threatened, "Hey, what do you want, kid? Are you gambling or not? If not, don't blame me for killing you now. Calm down, sir. I have never rejected your proposal, but before the game starts, I need to have a clear understanding of the rules of the game. For example, what if you lose?" Li Guanqi completely ignored the man's threat and sat in front of the card table, holding her chin in both hands, calmly saying, although this may seem impossible to you, luck determines everything at the gambling table, so this means that I am not completely without the possibility of a comeback, sir. Lucky, your mind was really filled with all sorts of ridiculous ideas that day. The man still disdained it, but after thinking for 2 seconds, he still showed a mocking smile and gave Li Guanqi the explanation he wanted. If I win all my money, even if you win, it's impossible. But as you said, luck determines everything. How about that? Can we start now? Of course, not a problem, sir. Having obtained what he wanted to know, Li Guanqi smiled and his dark eyes became as cold and deep as a pool of water. Take a look at the previous politeness and kindness. At this moment, the young man looked at the man as if he was looking at a defeated subordinate. With a smile on his face, he looked even more contemptuous, like a big shot who said, "You've messed with the wrong person today." The dazzling lights on the ceiling of the casino shone on this young man, setting her off like an emperor who ruled the world. Although she only casually lowered her head to glance at the card table, it inexplicably seemed like a king patrolling her territory. The sudden transformation made the man's heart skip a beat. He didn't know why the young man in front of him had such a big transformation. The intuition honed from years of fighting at sea and escaping death made him very sensitive to danger, so much so that when he looked at him, a cold sweat involuntarily broke out from behind. The man shuddered and instinctively swallowed his saliva, wondering if it might be his own illusion. However, when he looked up at the young man smiling at him across the table, he couldn't help but shift his gaze away from the one he was staring at. The young man smiled at the situation without much expression, just gently pushing the card in his hand towards the other side. Now, let's start the game, sir. Asterisk at present, the close. Up shots on the screen show Li Guanqi's confident smile as if he were a gambling saint. So much so that everyone watching the screen couldn't help but argue, speculating whether Li Guanqi, before crossing the river, would still possess powerful skills like King of Gamblers. This guy. Maybe he's very skilled at gambling. Yeah, I'm not sure. And look at this guy's confident smile. That's the kind of aura I've only seen on some big hands who've been around casinos for years. Oh. That's really amazing. The audience's appetite was lifted, and at this moment when the protagonist was about to show off his power, everyone involuntarily silenced and focused on the screen. While eagerly anticipating the plot in the video, I speculated on what kind of skill or luck Li Guanqi's technique of never losing cards was. In short, the audience is very excited about the content that follows, but unfortunately, movies are always full of twists and turns. In the previous second, the protagonist was still strategizing like a big shot, but in the next second, he could lie in the garbage dump like a dead dog and kill directly. Even the originally colorful pages on the screen became grayish-white due to Li Guanqi's death. The reversal came so abruptly, boldly, and unexpectedly. Perhaps the charm of editing lies mostly in this. After all, most of the time, as long as the movie doesn't end, the audience will never know what will happen in the next second. In the stillness of the scene, only empty eyes and scattered limbs coldly recount how badly Li Guanqi suffered in the casino. Now, the audience's expressions, which were originally full of anticipation, have solidified on their faces, and the eerie atmosphere inside and outside the screen has reached a consistent silence. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, sigh. Asterisk in the first encounter of a battle, it is impossible to win. You can only struggle and speak harshly before you die. Hiss. Once again, I can't close my eyes. Li Guanqi's mood at this moment was somewhat subtle. Once again, he stood on the side with a soul-like posture, watching his body lying scattered in the garbage bin in an extremely curious posture. He felt that the scene was once very familiar, but not completely familiar. "You're dead," the world consciousness whispered. "Not really, it's so fresh. If you need it, I can even tell you in detail about the physical and mental feelings of the person involved at that time. Li Guanqi felt that this kind of thing that can be seen by looking down didn't need to be explained at all, so he jokingly complained for a few words before shifting the topic. By the way, what is the situation now? Why haven't I read the file yet? Not everyone adapts well to death, Li Guanqi said with a faint sense of world consciousness. This is a rest stop, and you can take a break here before rereading the file. Not everyone. Li Guanqi hesitated for a moment and asked, so I'm not the only one you brought to save the world? Oh. I expected this, but I didn't expect you to know so quickly. World consciousness was a bit surprised, but it wasn't a big deal, so there was no hiding it. Of course, it's just that they gave up before you. Give up. Li Guanqi was also a bit surprised. She remained silent for a while and blinked. I didn't expect this. They died many times. I've said before, not everyone adapts well to death, Li Guanqi, world consciousness replied with a hint of melancholy in his tone. They just died many times. Many times. Oh. Many times. That seems to be quite a few times. Although Li Guanqi still didn't understand, her good values made it impossible for her to judge death, so she remained silent for a long time in the face of those unimaginable times. Respect the martyrs. Li Guanqi said so, then lowered his head and mourned solemnly. World consciousness patiently waited during Li Guanqi's mourning. Until the mourning was over, Li Guanqi lifted his head. Which number am I? Li Guanqi asked. It's the 746th one. World consciousness has said. It seems that the revolution has not been successful yet, and I still have a long way to go. Li Guanqi tactfully expressed a bit of Alexandria about this considerable number, but still couldn't help but ask again, but what happened to those who gave up later? Some have gone to heaven, some have gone to hell, some have passed away helplessly, and some will never be reborn. Let's look at their performance before death, said world consciousness. Anyway, in my opinion, they all have a bright future. The implication is to look at the regional culture, and then go back to each home and find each mother. Li Guanqi understood and then stretched his muscles and bones, saying, so, when can I start reading files? At any time, but before that, I want to know why you want to provoke that man. World consciousness asked inexplicably, you know you can't win, right? Of course, that's because losers can't lose battles. I'm only 18 years old, young and reckless, with a childlike heart. I've always wanted face more than life. Li Guanqi was also very emotional about this. And I didn't expect that person to gamble cards without showing martial arts ethics. Even if he were forced to gamble, he might even cheat. World consciousness. So, do you know he's cheating? Yeah, that's obvious, Li Guanqi nodded. To be honest, his skills alone are not enough for him to chop 1,000 hands of guanyin at home. The world consciousness is extremely strange. So why don't you expose him? That's because I know this kind of person. Unless you can outdo him in violence, he will definitely not admit that he's cheating. Li Guanqi sighed lightly, in other words, he's just a scoundrel. A dead pig is not afraid of boiling water. If you really want to expose it, just refuse to admit it, and he may even bite me back. So do you want to choose to give up? World consciousness asked with uncertainty, give up the casino branch. Give up. How could it be? I was foolish, that's why I gave up the casino branch. Li Guanqi rubbed his nose, although I don't really like this statement, to be honest, the casino is currently the only place where I can get money quickly and won't even touch the law. It seems that you don't have any plans to change casinos either, world consciousness said. What about gambling friends? Do you still want to continue gambling with that man after you finish reading? Of course, it's necessary. Anyway, others have a lot of silly money, so why don't I do it? Li Guanqi shrugged. Although he may not remember after reading the file, our relationship now is a deep-seated feud. At least for me personally, there is no better fat sheep there than him. It seems that you are planning to continue gambling with him, World Consciousness said. Even if you still have the chance to lose and be killed by him hundreds or thousands of times. Of course, even if he may kill me 1,000 times, it doesn't matter, Guanqi chuckled softly. Anyway, for me, winning once is enough. Are you referring to unlimited reading? But that would be very painful, Guanqi, classmate. World Consciousness fell silent for a moment. You just experienced it, didn't you? Death is real. Yeah, it's quite real. Guanqi pondered her recent death. The sharp machete was mercilessly swung by someone, and its silky smoothness was as easy as a cafeteria ant cutting tofu. At that time, she smiled in pain and warmly greeted the other person's ancestors in her heart, but on the surface, she stubbornly maintained the style that a king should have. Until the excruciating pain spread from the limbs to the eyes, to the point where darkness descended, the fear of the unknown even made the physical pain so insignificant. Guanqi couldn't laugh anymore. Although there was no trace of fear on his face, his greeting to his ancestors became even more friendly in his heart. A wrong gamble made her lose everything, and she paid the price for it, ultimately resulting in a tragic ending of being a victim and a victim. That man did indeed go to what he himself said, just to find fun, and when fun is over, it's over. So after the man was happy, she was thrown into the trash can like real garbage. That feeling was really dog-like, but even worse, it was during the period when she lost consciousness and completely fell into darkness. Suffocation, viscosity. Something eerie is staring at her. One, maybe some, maybe more. They surround her and whisper in her ear in language she doesn't understand. The eerie rhythm swirled back and forth in her mind, causing her mind to only crawl slowly like a snail, and the feeling of wanting to explode was even more sour and nauseating. Until she woke up at the rest station, all the discomfort disappeared in an instant, and then opened her eyes as if floating in the clouds. Ah, a blank mind. It's his mother the dog. His grandfather's. Guanqi vividly remembers her mood at the time, but now standing at this so-called rest station, she finds herself laughing heartily again. It seems like something has changed, but it also seems like nothing has changed. I know that there must be gains and losses, and the principle remains unchanged throughout history. But as for reading documents, that's it. Failure is the mother of success, so you can always plan for the worst and look for the best direction in everything. Guanqi grinned and continued to smile, but her words made this immature young man look like a madman. Death comes first, save later. If necessary, I can use thousands of my own corpses to pave a bloody path called victory. Someone is talking crazy, the winner will only be me, or rather the next me. Immaturity and immaturity, winning once is victory. A calm madman. I will always be the ultimate winner. Small theater, Guanqi, smile gradually becoming abnormal. Are you stupid? I can read files. Seeking comments, collecting, and recommending. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The King of the Thousand Kings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The King of the Thousand Kings using the calmest tone and uttering the craziest words, even though it was just the simplest reality, the calm demeanor of young people speaking these words still genuinely made people feel shivering. A deathly silence, everyone's expressions froze on their faces. This, she. My goodness. Is she crazy? Is she crazy, right? Using thousands of one's own bodies, pave a bloody path called victory. Everyone was shocked by the crazy language of young people. The person with a normal brain was stunned and stuttered, well, this is too crazy. But didn't she say she could read the file? Some people couldn't help but say, anyway, she can start over again, it's just death. What's there to be afraid of? Did you see it too? Did you hear it too? The whispers of those things in the darkness. The person being spoken to couldn't help but swallow their saliva, with a hint of fear in their eyes, but they kept staring at the young man on the screen. Although what you said is not wrong, how many people can hold back the pain and fear when death truly arrives? They will definitely collapse. How could it be as exaggerated as you said? Because that's death. The scene was once very chaotic. Some people don't take it seriously, while others are shocked by it. And more people, on the other hand, are hit hard by this extreme and crazy thinking, confused and at a loss. I just widened my eyes, opened my mouth wide, as if startled by something, dumbfounded. Even though I finally regained my senses, I was just looking at the screen eagerly, not knowing what I was thinking. Asterisk, Ghost Island, low, 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 low. Kato slammed the wine gourd in his hand onto the table with a loud bang. Reading files. Wah ha 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 ha. Although that's the case. Jean said helplessly, but you still really like this girl, Lord Kaido. What lol lol lol. It's just a little ghost with no hair growing up. Kaido said, casually lifting the wine jug again. Let's wait until she can stand in front of me before we talk, Volcano. Asterisk, Naval Headquarters, reading files. Is really a dangerous ability, said Red Dog sternly. If she were to act recklessly without being restrained, the world would be ruined. Perhaps, although I don't completely agree with your point of view. The Warring States period sighed with regret, feeling shocked, but still somewhat melancholic. However, in this way, the world government must not give up easily. Haha, why bother with those scumbags' ideas? Maybe they're not in the same world. Unlike the concerns of the two above, Kapu, a wise and foolish old man, was quite open-minded. While eating donuts, he laughed and patted the shoulder of the Warring States period, saying, look at this young man. Although he's weak and explosive, he has a very good heart. Ha ha ha. Yeah, although that's the case, for now, it's not enough to think about it. That pirate is not a good person, is he? The yellow ape pinched his chin and said happily, without power, no matter how hard you try, it will only be in vain. What will this young man do next? I'm curious about it. Well, I guess we'll still go to the casino. Qingji scratched her curly hair and muttered, I just don't know exactly what she's going to do. Even though I'm still a student, he lowered his head and poured himself a cup of tea. I'm just a child. As a young man, I hope I won't be hurt by this terrible world. Asterisk, world governments, unlike the joyful and harmonious appreciation of talent in the Navy, the atmosphere in the world government can be said to be extremely bad. What kind of ability is not good? Why is it just the ability to read documents? It can be said that the house leaks and it rains continuously at night. First there is world live streaming, and then there is the method of reading files. The former can influence the world, while the latter cannot be executed completely. At least for the world government alone, this is definitely the worst situation. A middle-aged man with a hooked nose suddenly threw the information in his hand onto the table. His current appearance can be described as furious, with a gloomy expression that seemed to drip water. No matter what, we cannot let this dangerous villain survive. Her existence is challenging the authority of the world government. Once discovered, execute on the spot. We must not leave any survivors. Not only that. We also have to chop off her head and hang it up to parade in public. This will achieve the effect of warning everyone. For the stability of the world. Never let those ignorant people have inappropriate thoughts. Asterisk, hey. Wake up. Wake up. Big sister. Big sister. Opening his eyes again, Guanqi was awakened from the darkness by someone else. There was a slight feeling of being pushed and shoved on his body, and Guanqi was confused for a while before realizing that he was maintaining a position where his lower body was hooked on the bed, while his upper body was lying face down on the ground, fainting. However, judging from the smell of disinfectant in the air, she should still be in the same hospital as the previous week. Huh, it's pretty good. It seems that the beginning hasn't changed. I'm fine, Luo. Guanqi shook his head, climbed onto the bed from the ground, and then rubbed Luo's hat casually. Startled. Don't worry, I'm just sleeping in a very bold posture, he said. So, big sister, your sleeping posture is too bold. Luo felt a bit helpless, but at least he breathed a sigh of relief. Forget it, it's okay. I brought lunch over, big sister, do you want to eat now? Eating. Guanqi blinked and got out of bed without hesitation upon hearing the words. Of course, it's time to eat now. You should know that if you don't eat actively, you may have problems with your brain. Guanqi considers herself a pillar of the National Reserve, so even though she feels that her brain is currently on the rise and needs to be slowed down, the food is urgent. Luo hesitated and said, but sister. You seem to be feeling dizzy. Really okay? It's okay, Guanqi shook his head. I can faint later. Luo Wuda said, can this kind of thing be delayed? Anyway, I can. Guanqi nodded nonchalantly, picked up the bowl, and took a sincere sip of the soup. Sure enough, the food still needs to be eaten while it's hot to be delicious. Asterisk, East China Sea Restaurant, it would be great if you could still eat. Jeep smoothed his upturned fried dough twists braid-like beard. He looked at the young man who was eating hard on the screen, and smiled. After all, you can work hard only when you are full. Although I think so too, it was a rare time to rest. Sanji leaned against the wall and lit a cigarette. I've just experienced something like that, so I shouldn't be able to eat anything, right? Ha ha ha, I think this little girl is eating very well, Jeep laughed, I've eaten everything. She's really an amazing young lady, Sanji nodded and looked at the satisfied face on the screen. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Well, if there's a chance, I really want to cook this young lady. If it were her, she would probably be very happy. Of course, Jeep proudly raised his head. From the way he eats, he knows he's a person who cherishes food. Asterisk, as the saying goes, people are iron, and food is steel. Not eating a meal can make one feel hungry. Even if I have died once, it is the same. Perhaps everyone with a big heart is like this. Anyway, it seems that last week's goal did not affect Guanqi at all. Not only did he not leave any psychological shadow, but also he should eat and drink. While chatting with Luo, he did not forget to fill in food and ask for another bowl. After finishing his meal, Guanqi promised Luo that he would call a nurse if there was any situation, and left the hospital for a walk and digestion like last week. However, considering that he had a similar understanding of the things he needed to know last week, this time Guanqi did not choose to gossip with the surrounding residents. Instead, he went straight to buy a laptop and planned to go back to the hospital to tidy up. Before leaving, I also bought a few pairs of cards, and at a glance, I knew it was preparation work for going to the casino. Asterisk, cutting cards, dropping cards, challenging cards, hiding cards. Some simple techniques for playing cards are not difficult for Guanqi. As an amateur magic enthusiast, although Guanqi couldn't come up with those clever things, he learned a little bit of everything out of his nature. Transforming roses and hiding coins, Guanqi has a passion for scripted board games such as Team Running, so she is particularly skilled at playing dice, but playing cards is not unfamiliar to her. I just awkwardly wandered through an entry-level stage where I knew how to play but didn't do well. Li Guanqi was playing cards while lamenting the agility of his fingers. Not playing music games would be a waste of time. On the other hand, he recalled the trick of cheating on the man's card table, feeling that if he had hugged the Buddha's foot temporarily, it would definitely be enough to fight back to the limit. In short, without sleep all night, accompanied by the sound of playing cards, time quickly arrived the next morning. Li Guanqi stayed up all night without sleeping, but he was full of energy and full of fighting spirit. Although her heart was still a bit pounding, she managed to suppress her nervousness when she thought of last week's events. After all, the top priority is to ensure that the next steps can develop according to one's own plan. Because Li Guanqi had already been to a casino once before, this time he was very familiar with the game and didn't waste much time. He once again sat in front of the card table, put those 2 gold coins on the gambling table, and then grinned, showing a hypocritical demeanor of indifference. Li Guanqi. Hello sir, I have 2 gold coins. Do you want to bet on one game? Man, so, the next step is a familiar opening and a familiar conversation. The man is still the man from last week, but Li Guanqi is no longer the man from last week. Cheap cards and dazzling gold coins were once again brought to the gambling table. Both victory and defeat determine life and death. The man started shuffling the cards, and compared to the street magic on TV, his crude technique was almost full of loopholes. Li Guanqi, upon seeing this, did not expose his thoughts. Instead, he pretended to be unaware of the idea of cheating and going blind together, and took the card handed over by the man, quietly fulfilling his duty to deal the cards. The first round ended quickly and was a victory for the men. So, Li Guanqi's 2 gold coins, which were like appetizers, were casually thrown into his pile of gold coins by the man. It seems that your gambling luck today is not very good, the man arrogantly smiled, his eyes fixed on Li Guanqi's limbs like venomous snakes. If you lose again in the next game, do you want to chop your legs or hands? Keep your hands to play cards. If you lose, then chop your legs first. Li Guanqi didn't pay much attention to his own defeat at the beginning. He quickly adjusted his condition by twirling his fingers twice. After all, to cheat, one must first learn to put in some water. According to the acceptable odds, either open 10 and release 8, or open 10 and release 7, but not at all is not acceptable. Thinking of this, Li Guanqi's smile on his face became even more friendly. Li Guanqi said, so what should we continue? Taking advantage of your good luck now, maybe we can still win consecutively, sir. You have a big heart. The man adjusted his sitting posture for a moment and said calmly, okay, then let's continue. Li Guanqi nodded and smiled without speaking. After all, today is still a long day, and what will happen next will only make her feel happy, not afraid. Continuous kindness JPG. So in the next few games, both sides had their own wins and losses, but the luck on the table slowly changed direction at some point. Sometimes there is an east wind, sometimes there is a west wind, sometimes there is a downwind, and sometimes there is an evil wind. At first, the evil wind started to blow normally, so while winning or losing, the man could also smile hypocritically with Li Guanqi and chat about the mountains. Man, okay, kid, you're lucky. Li Guanqi. It's just good luck, sir. Man, I really hope you keep doing well, kid. Gradually, the evil wind blew and the cult began to rise, becoming more of a loser than a winner. The man looked at the noticeably missing half of the gold coins in front of him and couldn't laugh, while also feeling a faint displeasure in his heart. Man, kid. How did you do it? Li Guanqi. It's just good luck, sir. Man. It's better to be like this. Finally, as the evil wind grew more and more rampant, becoming only a loser and not a winner, the man looked at the only 2 gold coins in front of him, his hypocritical expression on his face had already collapsed, leaving only anger. Man, why are you always winning, kid? Li Guanqi said, everyone has their luck at times, sir. I just have good luck. Man. You bastard. Can't you consider me a fool? Small theater, Guanqi. At first, I thought I was going to launch a red revolution. Later, I realized that I was going to do post-apocalyptic grain farming, but in the end, I turned my head and walked into the gambling city to become the king of thousands. Guanqi. TSK, life-seeking comments, collecting, and recommending. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Casino Storm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Casino Storm *, bang. The heavy card table was lifted by the man, playing cards fluttering in the sky, and brilliant gold coins scattered all over the ground with a clanging sound. The atmosphere in the casino became quiet for a moment due to the sudden movement, and for a moment, only the sound of people breathing could be heard. However, the noise immediately rang out again, and the atmosphere in the casino remained lively, as if the previous pause was just an illusion that never existed. A group of people who didn't mind the excitement gradually gathered around the poker table, completely blocking the way out. What happened? Ah! It's that pirate. What? What? Is it difficult to start again? One by one, there was no trace of the panic or concern that ordinary people should have about chaos. On the contrary, they were whispering and discussing, their faces full of excitement and liveliness about to eat melons. Guanqi. It seems that this is not the first time such a thing has happened here. Guanqi, with an indifferent attitude, looked at the expressions on the faces around her and thought to himself that all good people in the world are indeed ordinary black. The whole hall was filled with people, but there was no justice that could help her weak students sneak the police. TSK. How the world is declining, how the human heart is not ancient, how the world is thin and cold. As the saying goes, if someone is bullied and doesn't help, they are accomplices. Guanqi dare not compliment the virtues of these good people. Even though she has long understood that good people are like this, when the facts are presented, she sincerely believes that being a person still needs to have a bottom line and a lower limit. As if nothing had happened, Guanqi withdrew his gaze and looked back at the still angry man in front of him, silently sighing in his heart. Sigh. Right now, this is also someone who lacks great virtue. You're cheating. The man roared angrily, his face flushed, his eyes bloodshot, filled with the anger of a gambler who had become angry due to losing a card. Do you think you won these gold coins? No. You despicable miller. Dirty poor guy. I will kill you. So that you can pay the price for your actions. You can't just rely on your mouth to falsely accuse someone, let alone say that I cheated, but you don't have any evidence. In the face of men's doubts and anger, Guanqi sat steadily on the chair and smiled politely. Even the man standing opposite turned angry and flashed his knife, his face was still calm. Willing to gamble and accept defeat, sir. Guanqi waved his hand like greeting a puppy and asked the casino host to come and pack the gold coins on the ground into a bag. This is an unchanging rule in the casino. I didn't lose. The man looked at Guanqi in a daze, although he still felt angry that he had been tricked instead of being tricked, but at the same time, he was also wary. After all, a person who can escape unscathed after killing the wife and children of a naval admiral is definitely not a brainless fool. Although the man was targeted by the Navy for this, abandoning his identity as a pirate and becoming destitute, his nature of killing and abusive did not change. The casino, on the other hand, was a feng shui treasure trove he found after escaping from the sea. Born with a villainous face, coupled with a tall and imposing physique, men are able to wield their might and dominate casinos in various small countries with their unmatched strength on great routes. According to past experience, whenever he sneered with a fierce smile on his face, the most common thing he saw was people's pale faces, showing expressions of panic and fear. But no matter what, it should not be like Guanqi, who is indifferent and can even talk to you calmly with a smile when facing a crisis. This guy's reaction is abnormal. Speaking of which, when advancing to the casino this guy didn't hesitate at all, just ran towards him and came over. Damn it, shouldn't it be a scam? Thinking of this, the man was somewhat scared, so in the face of Li Guanqi's fearless attitude, he instinctively softened his tone and unconsciously restrained his anger. This makes no sense. I can't lose everything to you. Huh, you're so funny. Gambling is inherently unreasonable, sir. Li Guanqi shook his head and smiled. Besides, I'm lucky today. Lucky enough to win all my gold coins with 2 coins. That's a whopping 150 coins, kid. The man gritted his teeth, his fierce face fierce. I don't believe you have such a good life. Yes, I think so too. Li Guanqi nodded and fully agreed with the man's statement. Just 3 out, and then 3 out again, what a good fate. It's because of good luck that we can win money. Lazily throwing the 3A cards back in his hand, Li Guanqi shrugged and said, besides, I'm not really just winning your money with 2 gold coins, sir. Man, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a pair of eyes. Li Guanqi stood up from the chair, opened his hands, and slowly turned around like displaying a product before sitting back in the chair. He straightened his waist and nodded politely and reserved to the man, this is the chip you personally selected and approved of, sir. But you cheated, you cheated. The man stared at Li Guanqi's eyes and raised his voice, this is not counting at all. Not counting. But in this gambling game, the chips are chosen by you, the game is set by you, the cards are newly acquired, and even the shuffle right is firmly in your hands. If this cannot be counted as counting, how can it be counted as counting? Bet until you win. Li Guanqi spread out his hands, his face full of helplessness, with a look of, I'm good at talking, but can you really make a fuss like a child? He was particularly rogue in such an occasion. If you really think so, slaughterhouses can better meet your requirements than casinos. Not only that, sir, there may even be a chance of pouring your money there. Why do you come here to find something unpleasant? The crowd around burst into laughter due to this humorous description, which made the man with good face angry and furious, to the point of losing his voice and shouting, you dealt the cards. Reason doesn't speak louder, sir, let alone this doesn't prove anything. Li Guanqi almost burst into laughter due to the man's angry appearance, so he cleared his throat tactically and forcibly maintained his calm demeanor. He continued, since you think I'm making a mistake, you can definitely catch the current situation on the spot. You can speak without evidence now. In other words, this is slander. Defamation. I defame you. How could it be? The man really wanted to get up with the knife, but Li Guanqi's fearless attitude made him certain that there must be fraud involved. If he really wanted to take action, he might actually fall for this kid's way and end his own life. Wait. Xiaoming. Why does he feel that this seemingly underage bean sprout is threatening his life? Cold sweat unknowingly climbed onto the man's forehead, although subconsciously telling him that accepting the bet and losing was the best choice at this time. His habit of committing crimes all year round made him angry at Li Guanqi's attitude. What nonsense are you talking about, kid? Okay, then you can think of me as talking nonsense. Li Guanqi nodded nonchalantly, with a look of, I don't argue with my son, and continued to ask kindly, so what do you want to do, sir? Do you want to bet again on the gold coins? All right. That's it. The man fell silent for a moment, then agreed with a grim expression, give me the gold coins, let's gamble again. The crowd began to stir. After all, the man's behavior was too despicable, to the point where they looked down upon the man's behavior. However, even so, no one has come forward to accuse the man of being a scoundrel. After all, it's not about personal matters and they hold themselves high, and no matter how much they disdain men's behavior, they will ultimately not become the kind of heroes who lend a helping hand when faced with injustice. Yes, it's just a group of gamblers who don't mind the big picture. You really don't want to be embarrassed, Li Guanqi paused and smiled. Okay, that's it, but I don't have that much time, so let's go crazy. Showland. so are you. Not just gold coins. Including your 2 arms, legs, and eyes. You also have to bet on them all together. Guanqi. Boy, you really climb up with a borrowed pole. Guanqi was not surprised by the man's actions. After all, he was morally low and had 0 credit. It was normal for him to do anything. It's quite responsive. His mother, like a wild dog, staring at her hands, staring at her legs, staring at her eyes, totally holding the intention of killing her, trying to kill her. It's outrageous to have no grievances or grievances. Isn't it? Guanqi felt genuinely angry about this. Although she still maintained a smiling appearance on the surface, an emotion called anger silently began to boil and burn in her blood, like a shell rushing through her brain. After all, there is a saying from our ancestors that goes well. If a person doesn't offend me, I won't offend them. If a person offends me, then kill them. Sigh, a famous quote. How well said. Guanqi was about to applaud. Sure, after all, Swoha. You shuttle and I shuttle, everyone is together, so much joy. Guanqi nodded slightly, still maintaining her smile, as if wearing a mask that only knows how to smile. But the same thing, you also have to gamble on your hands, feet, and eyes, otherwise this is not fair to me. You know, from the beginning, I have been accommodating you, sir. The man fell silent, his face changing and uncertain. He pondered for a long time, hesitating whether he should just give up like this, willing to give up and then leave. But after pondering for a while, he realized that greed for money and the desire to kill the weak still prevailed. I bet. Okay, so before the gambling game is officially established, let me ask again for the last time, have you really considered it, sir? Guanqi asked again as if he was certain. After all, the rabbits of the flower growers are inherently gentle. Before any serious actions are taken, they should give people a chance to turn their backs on the cliff as a gesture of politeness, leaving basic dignity in dignity. There's still time to back out now. Guanqi said this, putting away the smile that had always been on her face. She looked at the man expressionless, her black and white eyes flashing with a strange light like a dead fish. It won't make people feel scared, but it definitely won't make people feel comfortable. Inexplicably creepy. You should know, don't say it's unforeseeable. If the other side is not respectable. Stop, his mother whispering, boy. The man trembled, but still didn't believe that the bean sprout in front of him could make any big waves. He instinctively felt angry because of his withdrawal, his eyes red, took a deep breath, and growled, "You're dead." Let's help him maintain his dignity, Guanqi. Guanqi smiled and said, okay. Damn it. Die. Apologizing is no longer useful. You prepare the coffin board. Small theater, Guanqi. Seeking comments, collecting, and recommending, end of this chapter. Chapter 9. Casino Storm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Casino Storm *, as the saying goes, once bitten by a snake, 10 years afraid of a well rope. After the new gambling game began, the man refused all games related to cards and chose dice. Dice. Guanqi licked the corner of his mouth, sincerely feeling that the man had made a mistake this week. He had made a mistake and lost his life in the game soon. Because she is good at this, to the point where even if she can't be called a mediocre player, she can still be considered a professional match. If it had been in the past, Guan's chess player might have become addicted to playing with him, but after experiencing a week of death and 2 weeks of irritability, she now only has a killing heart and no mercy for this crazy Wangba Duzi. There is an old saying among flower growers, which goes, revenge must be avenged. Moreover, compared to the actions of a man in a week, as a person who takes the victim's position and retaliates reasonably, Guanqi has said everything that should be said and released all the water that should be released, which can be said to be benevolent and righteous. So for the fate of men, in Li Guanqi's eyes, there is no longer a crime to escape, only a blood debt to pay. Even if we can make a decisive decision on the spot, then we will definitely not be able to stay until the end of autumn for questioning and execution. Murder may be a difficult task for a child who grew up in a peaceful era. But revenge is not. As for the goodness that a person should have. Bah, goodness his mother. Don't let this foolish-minded person get into trouble, she will write the name of Li Guanqi upside down in the future. Li Guanqi smiled and bit his back teeth. Looking at the man's face, which was pulled up to 2, 5, or 8,000 yuan, he felt psychologically uncomfortable and physically felt a phantom pain. The death within a week left a lasting impression on Li Guanqi, who had only seen the virtual world online and had never experienced the real story of the flower-planting rabbit in reality. The pitch-black view magnifies the five senses infinitely. Blood surged out of the body, and the intense pain accompanied by a slight chill rushed straight into the nerves of the brain, which could be described as a mesmerizing sensation. Long tinnitus filled the brain, vaguely as if one could hear some buzzing laughter coming from around, but more of it was still the faint beating of the heart. Bang! 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 Bang, as if recounting the final countdown, with a slow yet resolute attitude. Li Guanqi's scalp was tingling in such an extremely clear and long brink of death. To be honest, it's difficult for Li Guanqi to say whether his feelings at the time were a little more fear or a little more anger. I just know that in the last second before I completely lost consciousness and fell into death, I still regret whether death came too quickly, to the point where I didn't have the opportunity to curse at her to relieve the speed of my words. When the man was officially expelled from the rest station and demoted to being raised by a donkey, Li Guanqi was constantly thinking about how to proceed with the next 2 weeks of review. Revenge is certain, but the problem is how to operate against the wind and turn things around when the force value is completely unequal. As for the alarm. No, don't be foolish. Leaving aside the actual state of the rule of law system in this country, the man's attitude of not hesitating when wielding a knife, and his fearless behavior when killing and throwing corpses afterwards, all reflect the chaos and darkness of the security situation in this region. Police officers and similar personnel in this area are likely to be a kind of mascot, and even to the point of disgust, there may still be dirty activities of colluding with bandits and keeping accounts with tigers. In addition, Li Guanqi believes that his behavior of going to the casino for the sake of making money is not very bright. Therefore, after careful consideration, Li Guanqi did not choose to report to the police or evade these two options. Instead, he decided to continue to fight the man and have a black fight to the end. But in this way, the value of force has become the most fundamental and deadly issue. After all, as a good citizen who grew up in the 21st century, Li Guanqi has always been a person who is good at talking but not good at fighting. She is very aware that beneath her current arrogance, she is actually a paper tiger that can be easily punctured, so if she wants to crush a man, she can only rely on external forces. As the saying goes, if your fists are not strong, then come and fight with swords. If swords are not strong, then the times will change. The method of killing has been constantly changing from ancient times to the present, so Li Guanqi realized that swords and knives cannot inflict damage and that the efficiency of administering medicine is not high. Therefore, the gun, a lightweight and deadly weapon, became her preferred target and was listed as Plan A on the list. By the time of the week, Li Guanqi had already gained a rough understanding of local newspapers, customs, and some details of life. In today's era, the level of technology is probably stuck at the John Bull of the 17th and 18th centuries on Earth. The steam industry has not yet emerged, and labor has not been liberated. Due to the fact that knowledge is more in the hands of the powerful, it leads to cultural chaos and complexity at the grassroots level. At the same time, the career development direction of the people is also diverse. Although it seems to have taken some magical paths at the same time, such as, devil fruit and so on. But that thing is not as said in medieval mythology and legends, where magical elements are widely popularized and wizards and knights are everywhere in the fantasy continent, unlike in modern fairy tales, where all muggles are forgotten, there is only a dreamy nursery rhyme of a wizard waving his wand. Li Guanqi thinks that this world is very strange, but it is difficult to explain in detail what kind of feeling this monster is, rather than describing it in general. It can only be roughly summarized as: there is magic, but not much, there is technology, and it is very backward. Well. But for now, the problem may not be significant. It should be possible to temporarily shelve it in Plan B, C, D and then put it aside for further discussion. In just 2 or 3 days, Li Guanqi's understanding of the world was still limited, and he read too little news and newspapers, to the point that he has now lost a round trip. The only thing that can be confirmed is that guns are at least a relatively popular thing in this country. And it is precisely this that gives Li Guanqi, who is a 5th scumbag in battle, a great deal of room for operation. After all, when a country does not have a gun ban policy, Li Guanqi can guess gray areas like gambling fields with his toes. If he wants to become stronger, bigger, and create brilliance, he must have such weapons to shake the field. When casinos and guns are linked together, the most easily associated thing is a game that once became popular in film and television games. Russian roulette. A cruel and thrilling gambling game that is said to have originated from World War I. But as is well known, Arabic numerals do not originate from Arabia, and the Spanish flu does not originate from Spain, so naturally, the Russian roulette does not originate from Russia. I only know that in rumors, out of every 6 participants who have played this game, 5 of them feel that the game is simply safe, while the remaining 1 gives a default positive review, making this game a 100% safe entertainment game. Well. Although there is also a high probability of unexpected situations, such as a man reneging or being naughty again. But since we already have guns, why bother with a hammer? Thinking of this, Li Guanqi couldn't help but chuckle in his heart with an extremely sinister tone. He didn't agree or disagree with the man's proposal to play dice, but picked up the dice and goo technique on the side and skillfully shook it. The metal dice collided with the wooden dice, constantly making a gurgling sound. The man was puzzled and looked at Li Guanqi with a bewildered expression. But the latter did not speak, just swayed and played with dice, changing patterns. The movements were as smooth as flowing clouds and water. Finally, with a dong sound, it was placed on the table. 6 sixes, leopard. Li Guanqi's words were spoken lightly, although he had not yet uncovered the dice, it seemed as if he had already known the outcome. The man couldn't help but feel a thump in his heart when he saw this. Cold sweat slid down his forehead as he nervously looked at Li Guanqi's unopened dice, muttering to himself whether he had just stepped on a minefield before leaving. Is it possible that this kid is not only playing card tricks, but also a skilled player in dice? The man was uncertain, but Li Guanqi wouldn't give him any buffer time. After briefly stating the result, he raised his hand and opened the dice goo to reveal the answer. Sure enough, 6 sixes. Are leopards. Man, everyone. At this moment, there was silence over sound. Faced with the shocked eyes of the crowd, Li Guanqi remained calm and felt like he was bathed in the light of the gambling saint. If it weren't for the conditions not allowing, I would have wanted to roar in public. Where is the applause? Where are the flowers? Where is 666 again? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Casino Storm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Casino Storm. In short, in the face of such a magnificent display of skills, everyone was in an uproar. They looked at each other with surprise in their eyes. It was obvious that they had never expected Li Guanqi to be so skilled at playing dice at a young age, so they were all amazed. And when the man saw this, his face became even more gloomy like water, and his expression became increasingly ugly. What do you mean by this? The meaning is that this tree is too easy to hang, so I suggest you switch to a different one, sir. Li Guanqi remained calm on the surface while feeling relieved. After all, this kind of thing that has already ended before it started. To put it better, it affects the gaming experience, but to put it worse, rounding it up is basically equivalent to nothing. The man felt mockery and opened his mouth to refute it, but because he was indeed not skilled enough, he could only angrily close his mouth. But the question is, besides dice, what else can we bet on? Are you playing cards? Shit, but that his mother tree is also a crooked neck tree that is easy to hang. What's the difference between it and dice? The man made a mistake for a moment, although he didn't understand why Li Guanqi wanted to overturn this obviously favorable situation for her. It didn't prevent him from giving up the dice and switching to another gambling method. But the problem is that in this era, there aren't many gambling games, and even the popular ones like cards and dice are just playing with patterns, comparing sizes, and there aren't many fresh gameplay options. So when all the gambling games that are currently available were rejected one by one, the man couldn't think of any other way to make him the ultimate winner. And this is exactly what Li Guanqi wants. After all, gambling is such a thing. 10 bets, 10 scams, 10 bets, 10 losses. Gambling can be deceitful, especially since he doesn't even have a child to support. The idea of wanting to win without making a name for himself seems like a joke to Li Guanqi, a despicable modern person. Since you don't have a good idea, sir, why don't we play a classic game that has been passed down from our northern hometown, Russian roulette, to decide who will be the ultimate winner? Pretending to maintain the proper demeanor and aura of a big shot, Li Guanqi instructed the attendant beside him to bring 2 revolvers, guns, and a dozen matching bullets. Russian wheel. The man showed a puzzled expression. Yes, Russian roulette is an exciting and cruel gambling game that lacks skills and relies entirely on luck. Li Guanqi's abacus was playing with a crackling sound in his heart, practicing the classic and popular erotic techniques in movies and TV dramas while also fooling men into jumping into the ditch. And the rules of the game are also very simple. 6 bullet holes, 1 bullet. The bullet. The clip rotates randomly, while the player points the gun at their own temple, and finally pulls the trigger, leaving it to fate. Li Guanqi raised his hand in a gun-like manner and aimed it at his own head, whispering in an emotionless tone, bang. Man, 1 bullet, 30 gold coins, and the same goes for hands, feet, and eyes, all at the price of 30 gold coins. Li Guanqi completely ignored the shock on the man's face and continued to explain the rules in an orderly manner, with a tone of familiarity that was commonplace. Although he was conscious, he never thought about living for anything. Instead, he relied on an indescribable weariness to want to die for excitement. And this made the man feel scared, although he found it difficult to explain exactly why. Even though he had told himself countless times in his heart that there was nothing to be afraid of, he had experienced more exciting things than this. But looking at the boy sitting at the gambling table in front of him, he couldn't help but feel a chill from the bottom of his heart. I can't explain clearly, but I feel inexplicably that the boy has no logic to follow in his behavior or purpose. It seems that he is for money, but he doesn't want to die his mother. It seems that it doesn't kill me, but his mother, I have to admit money. The whole people are evil. And the game that this kid is talking about, the Russian roulette. Not to mention its circulating, can you just say which normal person could invent such an outrageous game? Due to the backwardness of his time, he has a certain degree of backwardness in his knowledge. Therefore, he has never understood the many men who have spent time in human history. He sincerely feels that the mental state of the boy he met today is abnormal, and he feels a sense of withdrawal. At the same time, he is unable to put down the face of giving up because he is surrounded by others. TSK, what a classic case, trying to save face and suffer. Who knows if he doesn't see ghosts? He doesn't deserve to die, who deserves to die? If it weren't for the deep-seated hatred in front of him and the unhappiness of not killing him, Li Guanqi would have been amused by this man's persuasion. In short, the rules are like this. The winner wins everything, including honor, the loser has nothing, including life. Li Guanqi picked up the wine glass on the table and took a sip to dry it, moistening his throat, and then exhaled happily. At this moment, the dim candlelight hit her face clearly, and everyone present was watching her, but no one could see her expression clearly, only vaguely feeling her smiling. And this made them feel a bit chilly. It may sound a bit complicated, but it's still very simple to play with. Li Guanqi smacked her lips as she savored the smell of alcohol and continued, basically, it's only a matter of 2 or 3 rounds, or maybe 1 round determines the winner. Who knows, it's not certain. 2 or 3 rounds. Could it also be 1 round? Who knows? Haha. Li Guanqi smiled twice, but because the laughter was a straightforward word, no one felt that she was laughing at that moment. If it's a bit good, it's not impossible to play 5, 6, 7, or 8 games. This kind of statement sounds so abnormal that it makes the man unable to maintain even the most basic calmness at the gambling table. He asks incredulously, "Are you asking me to gamble my life with you? But even if you break your hands, feet, or eyes, you're also going to die." "Sir, we've been risking our lives since the beginning." Li Guanqi took the gun handed over by the waiter, checked it, and found that there were 7 bullet holes instead of 6. He couldn't help but whistle happily, thinking to himself, wow, 7 bullet holes, this gun is amazing. At the same time, he didn't say anything. It's just a matter of sooner or later. Li Guanqi used a slightly awkward technique to manipulate the gun and weapon in his hand, and curiously shook it twice, saying, "Where is this going? Aren't we dead yet?" "What are you panicking about?" In her usual light tone, she continued, "Anyway, they are both going to die. Rounding them up can basically be said to have no difference between the two." This may sound increasingly outrageous, but the person who said it doesn't feel it, and even feels like they're just stating a fact. While fiddling with the gun, they look up at the man with a look of reproach. "What nonsense are you talking about? Are you telling me this stupid thing?" The man hesitated, sweating coldly in silence, hesitating for a moment without making a sound. In fact, he felt like he had met a lunatic because only a lunatic could have such calmness while talking crazy. "To be honest, I thought you would enjoy this exciting game, sir." Upon seeing this, Li Guanqi let out a long sigh, as if somewhat disappointed by the man's hesitation, or as if somewhat disappointed that the game could not continue. In short, she was disappointed and rubbed the gun in her hand with a casual attitude. Then, in a slightly regretful tone, she spread out her hand like a thug, "But now it seems like it's too stimulating for you, so it's causing you, to lose courage." Laughs everyone. Poop. High emotional intelligence. You have lost your courage. Low emotional intelligence. You coward. Man gone. It can be said that even if you kill someone, you have to put your heart to death. Li Guanqi's words were very tactful, but the unfinished meaning in his words was so shallow that he almost pointed at the man's nose and said he was a coward, with a bare heart but no bare courage, a group of cowards. As is well known, in this world, pirates are almost all fools who can't withstand provocation. Therefore, as a pirate, a man almost immediately gets angry after tasting it. He glares at the skinny young man in front of him and loudly retorts, "What do you mean? Do you think I'm being cowardly?" Li Guanqi. So what else? After leaving ink stains for so long without giving a definite answer, do you still think you are brave? Laugh to death. Li Guanqi made a big middle finger at the man in his heart, but in order to make the trap he placed more firm, he still asked back with a teasing attitude, "So, sir, are you gambling?" This still sounds like a mockery. The man gritted his teeth and said, "Bet." The voice was loud, but inexplicably gave off a very timid feeling. "Okay, please." Li Guanqi's surface remained gentle, even though it was almost perfunctory. She pushed the gun towards the man. "Here, your gun, check it out." The man hesitated and fell silent again, not immediately pushing Li Guanqi towards his gun. But Li Guanqi didn't care about him either. Considering that she had already wasted enough time on him today, Li Guanqi only glanced at the man and completely ignored his silence. End of this chapter.